Hello and welcome or welcome back to the virtual studio party, the studio party that comes to you. I'm Kim Lee Coe, your host, and my co-host is
Kal Honey.
um yes, so this is the virtual studio party live stream that we made free and we made it on YouTube so it would be as accessible to anyone who is interested as possible. And started during the first lockdown in March of 2020, with some breaks here and there because, we're human. Um, this is actually the last scheduled virtual studio party for 2021. We will be releasing our 2022 schedule for both virtual studio party and virtual collage jam in the coming week. I'm going to say coming 7 days. Things are just things tend to get a bit jammed up leading up to Christmas, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. Yeah. So that's that. I'm going to wait to see if a few more people arrive before I make our special holiday announcement.
Ooh, a holiday announcement. How exciting. Meanwhile, you can say hi to Val. Val has joined us.
Hi, Val.
Nice to have you along, Val.
So good to see you.
Wait, you can see her?
Well, of course I can. What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I just don't have the vision, I guess.
Yeah, clearly.
You were always the girl with the vision.
Yeah. Well, that's why I sing the Superman song,
That's right.
Oh goodness, I can't remember. So was it just a week ago we were at the Gladstone having that crazy in-person event?
It feels like a lot longer ago.
It does, but
wow. Time in my head do not.
That was an amazing event.
It was great. I really enjoyed it. It was. I was manic. I don't know quite what took over me, other than coffee and the first time I'm actually seeing people in person for over a year and a half.
I think the excitement of being in person really, Cal's adrenaline levels were like, I've never seen them that high. So, and we've been together a long time. So it was great. I mean, Lee Petrie, the curator there, gave an all too brief but very lovely tour by all accounts. And we had lunch with a number of the people participating in the refurbished bistro there. The food was terrific, actually, and the service was fantastic. So,
and the setting,
the setting's beautiful.
It was quite beautiful. It wasn't exactly a brilliantly sunny day, but there was all kinds of light.
Yeah, because they have old style windows that they've updated, but the basic character is still the original. And they're huge, so they just drank in light. It was fantastic. And then, of course, we had the actual hybrid event, and I must say that was our first hybrid in-person plus live stream event. And for those of you who were just at the live stream, I hope it wasn't too painful. We'll get better.
I think it was, but people are nice.
Yeah. Well, we got better at these. We'll get better at that too. So
I have to say, I didn't really pay the people there much heed, unfortunately, because I was busy streaming. But even online, I was struggling to maintain my concentration. So I really I don't envy the public school teachers at all who have
oh my god,
like. It's one thing to be doing a fun and friendly event that doesn't have any objectives per se, other than just
chatting or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas they have to deliver content and so on. So we have a new person along.
I recognize this name, Marianne Alberga.
Yeah, welcome aboard, Marianne.
I'm not sure if you may be Alberga or Alberga, but I'm defaulting to Alberga, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Very nice to see you here. So glad you could make it.
Yay.
So, yeah. I had a funny thing happen as I was prepping for today's event, and I was looking for clips. And I guess it was last episode of this, I was clipping my altered book, and I got out these big binder clips. And, of course they work, and that's awesome.
But they're extremely.
But they're hard to operate. And if anybody has arthritis in their hands, it's particularly hard.
And if the work is delicate at all, it
Yeah,
can be damaging, right?
exactly. It can make dents, and if you misuse them a little bit, they could even cause a tear in a delicate surface. So anyway, they worked, but I was looking for a kind of clip that I used to have at least a dozen of, and I've now located, with Cal's help, 5 of them. But it's funny how things disappear. So they're these Betty Crocker. I guess it goes this way.
Like dollar stores, right?
That's right. And they're plastic, but I have to say I haven't had to replace one yet because of breakage. So it is a durable product. If only I could find them.
They have a rubber lining, right? Which
Yeah,
means
they have a metal spring, so the spring works really well, but it's easier to operate. It's friendlier to the hand. And then the jaws are lined with rubber, and the rubber is ridged, which gives it a good grip without harming the surface at all. And so I love these things. I get these in, I think they're 5 for $3. So in fact, I probably have purchased 20 clips, out of which I can find 5.
Are they basically meant to be chip clips kind of thing?
Yeah, they're meant to close bags of chips and things. And but they're fantastic. I started using them for figure drawing class and portrait drawing class, or portrait class. And yeah, and so I often recommend them. And I thought, just in the sheer excitement of finding some, just a few, that I would share that little favorite product with you. So please let me know how you're doing and what you're working on. If you've brought something to work on, it's totally cool. If you're just here to hang out, I have often told people that they can just treat this as Kim and Cal FM. They don't have to work on anything, or they don't have. Some people. I was talking to one person at the Collage Jam, actually, that finds it. She's sensitive to sensory overload, which I sympathize with.
We both do.
I could die pretty quickly in a shopping mall, I'll tell you. But yeah, to having visual and audio inputs and trying to do anything just doesn't work for her. So I recommended she turn the screen away from her and just listen to the audio while she works on something. So, whatever works for you.
Val says, I bought some of those clips after you recommended them. They work great.
I'm so glad to hear it.
Matthew Borrett is with us. Hey, Matthew.
Oh my God.
Don't touch that dial.
That's amazing. Now, it's too bad we can't bring Matt on as a little featured guest. Yeah. Aside from the fact that he's one of my colleagues at the Redhead Gallery, which is an artist collective gallery, for those of you who don't know, in downtown Toronto. And the reason I say that is because at the last meeting, I don't know why it was such an epiphany at the time, but he has a magnificent voice for audio. So I thought, yeah, I could listen to that voice for a while. So anyway, very nice to have you here, regardless of that.
And we often ask people what they're working on, or if they're just chilling. And Val has anticipated that question, and she says she's working on last week's old and new collage.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Matt says blush.
Aw. How charming. Très charmant. So, okay. So, I think we've got. I think we've begun. So I'm going to be working on my altered book. That is me. It's all based around my father, and memories of him, images of him, things I associate with him, and so on. The end paper have a transfer from his birth certificate from Indonesia, so which at the time was a Dutch colony, and so it's written in Dutch in beautiful. Actually, I'll do a close up. Beautiful old fashioned typewriter.
Yeah,
The real thing, not some fake font.
Yeah, with all the little idiosyncrasies.
Yeah, and little annotations in the margins, and it's the kind of thing I can get kind of gooey about. I love that sort of old documents thing. Anyway, so that was a nice way to open the book, and I have one spread. Oh well, I should just share. So that was the opening spread. I haven't done anything with this. Whenever I see classic typography and design like this of this sort of era, I want to think very carefully about what kind of intervention I'm going to do on it. Unlike this this extremely can I call it expressionistic image transfer of my grandparents with my father as a toddler and his two sisters, but I know you can't really tell. This I had an idea for it when I first did this spread, which is collage dyed paper, Japanese paper, and gel print in acrylic texture. Not sure exactly what that original idea was, so I'll just come up with a new one. This was a recent episode of my father, about age 21, which was before he came to Canada. So he would have been doing his first degree at the university in Bandung in Indonesia. Bandung is on the island of Java, and it's where my stepmother is from. We have this wonderful glossy black spread that I prepared after the last virtual studio party, I think, although it might have been during, because I think there are going to be if not several in the book. There's something fantastic about the lacquery effect from India ink.
I love that.
Because of the shellac content of it. And I've got all kinds of ideas now.
And I think because the paper that the book is printed on is coated, it stayed shinier than, say, for instance, if it were a more porous paper.
Yeah, you'd have to build up more coats to get it to be shiny.
Sort of sheen. Yeah, but that's quite lovely.
Exactly, and so I've glued a bunch of pages together and I've also cut out some pages. This is the in progress spread about the Garuda.
Two brains are better than one.
My memory, honestly. Thank you for being my auxiliary memory. Since my concussion, words have become a bit of a weak spot in terms of that. So the Garuda bird is a mythological bird that transports Vishnu, I believe, in mythology. I'd like to work on this spread today. This spread I first laid down, collaged onto it, mounted onto it, whatever, some Chinese paper or Japanese paper? Japanese paper, I think. Japanese calligraphy paper. And so there you get an idea.
You can see the book's text showing through it.
That's right.
Somewhat.
But it sort of pushes it back and lowers the contrast. And onto that, I applied these image transfers of my grandfather and my father. So what I want to do is, those who know me will be shocked, I tell you, shocked that I want to bring in some veins and arteries I know, I just can't help myself. So, uh, yes, so I'm going to sketch some in, and I've got some watercolor pencils that I want to work them with, because I love something about water soluble media like that. Water soluble graphite and water soluble pencils or crayons. I love them. So anyway, that is sort of what I'm thinking about. I do also want to, I keep meaning to, I haven't got to it yet. Oh, maybe that's what I had planned for that one black spread I did. So this is a spread that I did a while ago, and it's the same India ink, but somewhat distressed here, and with a gel plate print from a rhubarb leaf, wild rhubarb leaf on it. And what I want to do is, on that other spread, do a print of leaf veins in red. So anyone familiar with my work will know there's a preponderance of red and blue because of its connection to anatomical art. So, all right.
Marianne says that she is working on turning her kids' old wood blocks into Christmas ornaments.
Oh, that's fun.
Such a fun idea. Yeah,
that's a great idea. It's a great way to have the mementos, but have a use for them.
Yeah. In fact, I asked her if she was planning on like leaving the colors or the letters on them, but then I realized not all kids' blocks have letters.
That's right. Just depends.
I was thinking of the square ones that have the letters and numbers on them.
Yeah. So
may not be those. So you can let us know. And Susan Abbott has joined us. Hello, Susan. Welcome aboard.
That's great. So
it's been a week since the last time.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was so good to see you in person. That's the astonishing thing, there are some people who are so familiar to me from online, and their names are familiar to me, but I realized I hadn't actually met them in person before. So okay, Cal's going to adjust the camera so that you don't see quite so much of me, but you see rather more of my work surface. And I can move my computer back a little bit. Can it come a little bit this way? Because the bottom of the book's getting cut off right now. There we go. That's good. And if we can bring the lights so that there's more light on this. Nothing wrong with that. Just if you can bring the lights, maybe tilt down or something. Great. Sorry, everybody. Just sorting out the technical details. All right. I think I will make some. Just have to find the right spread. I probably passed it. There we are. And this is where those clips I was going on about earlier in the proceedings, they come in handy for this. So that way I don't have to keep struggling with the spread. All right. So I like to have some inspiration in front of me when I'm contemplating veins, and this is an old dry rhubarb leaf with all of its veins picked out because I was gel plate printing with it, and I just love the effect. I actually have now a collection from, I don't know if I could I might even be able to find a few wild rhubarbs that still have leaves now. I'm not sure because we have been cold. But I hung on to the old dried ones that curled and twisted in beautiful ways, so that I can photograph them, because I thought that would be great. All right. This is one of my pencil cases full of favorite things.
Do you have some pencil cases full of less favorite things?
I have a lot of favorite things. Truth be told.
These are a few 100,000 of my favorite things.
What can I say? It's just me. I was mentioning water-soluble graphite sticks earlier. I'm a big fan of this chunky style, and I get them in different hardnesses, 2B, 6B, and 9B, and I just adore them. Which does make me ask myself, why am I not playing with them more? What's this? Is this also water soluble? Might be. Let me get my sketchbook.
I think it might be. Marianne answered from earlier that they're plain blocks and she's using wax pastels to decorate them, which sounds quite interesting.
Does. Yep, that would be water soluble.
Mark making page 101. Mark making 101 page, perhaps.
I don't know. I think it's just. Oh, I was showing Gerda the some of the language possible using a Japanese brush pen that's not meant for art particularly, but meant for ordinary writing.
That's yummy.
Ooh. And then, of course, there's a little pigment left, so I can use that up. So, yeah. Gotta love it. So, now I know. I guess this won't fit in the box with the other water soluble, will it? It will, actually, so that's where it should be. There we go. I just actually want an ordinary pencil, though, at the moment. How dull. How dull. There's one. Okay.
Susan says that she needs. Susan says,
yes.
I decided I need some of that transfer paper Kim uses. Inkaid, right?
Inkaid
and Transfer Ease, right?
Transfer Ease is the medium, which you don't have to use on really absorbent surfaces, like a good absorbent paper. But the Transfer Ease medium is good for large transfers or any semi-absorbent or non-absorbent surface.
Right, and you have to buy the transfer film.
Yes, you have to use it with the specific transfer film that has an emulsion on one side. That's the side that you print on it. In fact, this is it here. Let me just pull this out.
That's designed to release.
Yeah, so most, overhead transparency film is designed not to release. In fact, I have a whole box of transfer film, or not transfer film, just overhead film that printable. That I thought, I'll try it and see what I can get from it. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I didn't try pouring gasoline on it and setting fire to it, but I'm
glad you didn't, actually.
I pretty much did everything else. So, yeah, don't think that all overhead printable transparencies are the same. They are not. So if you're looking for good results, really good results transferring, you want one of the transfer films. Inkaid is spelled Inkaid, and their website is Inkaid with the numeral 1 added on.com. There's also DASSArt, DASSART. I think also .com. So anyway, those are the two companies. They're both in the United States. I usually have, if someone wants to try just, 10 sheets or something and doesn't want to go through the US, I usually have enough that I can sell you 10 sheets. So just get in touch. Okay. So, one of the nice things about this, I was looking at doing something like this potentially earlier. Which I might do further into the book, so it wouldn't be as glossy as this, be more absorbed. But I think I'm going to do it on something, maybe another portrait or something, because I do want this dialogue between my grandfather and my father. Boy, talk.
That is what they're expecting, Kim.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Susan says, ink aid and transfer ease. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you find it takes on a pre-painted acrylic surface okay?
Transfer ease is what you'd need to use to do the transfer. And yes, it does. What it won't accommodate is relief in the painting. So it has to be close to smooth.
Right, because the film is film, right?
Yeah.
And if it were something more absorbent, you might be able to get it to conform to bumps, but
this
really
doesn't conform to irregular surfaces.
Exactly.
It can conform to a curved surface,
like a regularly curved.
Yeah, something that's very smooth but curved, but
like a drum or a concave thing, but with lumps of paint, not so much. Right?
The medium, you think, oh well, maybe the medium can compensate. The medium can compensate for very small amounts. So yes, it can compensate for little irregularities, which is fine. But the problem is if it was very blobby because it was filling in big dips in the surface, relatively big dips, you wouldn't necessarily think of them as big. If you're an impasto painter normally, it's too much medium and it will tend to damage the transfer just because it will compared to the thinner places, it will dissolve the emulsion quicker. So yeah, I say all these things and then think, geez, no one's going to want to do this. And honestly, it's one of my favorite things to do are these transfers.
Like everything, like most art techniques, there are things you need to know about it.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of trial and error to get.
You have to get a feel for it. That's for sure. So you practice you don't practice on your painting that's, half finished and has 250 hours in it already. Like you practice on something that isn't precious. But I suspect, Susan, that you would know that.
She says, thank you. I'm doing some work on a collage made of maps and want to transfer on top of it. The previous efforts were not quite as crisp as I wanted, so I thought I would give this a try. That definitely sounds like a surface that could
potentially work
nicely.
And here's the other thing that you can do is if I applied this thin Japanese paper with glue stick. If I had applied it with gloss medium instead and coated it in gloss medium, it would be as if it were wet and therefore it would be totally see-through just about. You can always add matte later if you need to. But all of that to say that you can make a transfer like this. This was a Purell transfer, so I didn't need to use the medium. And then by applying it in that way, you can apply it to painted surfaces, collage surfaces, and so on. Obviously, do a test to make sure it's working out the way you hoped it would, or so that you can sort of adapt your expectations, right? But that is an alternative. And of course, this paper, when damp, it's delicate because so you have to treat it with care, but it will conform to a lot of irregularities. So, yeah, good idea, Susan. So I wish you success with that. Some of you may know or remember that Cal's Gladstone artwork design was applied to limited edition beer release. I don't know what to call it.
Henderson Brewing. Yeah, it's basically they do they issue a new beer every month. This Toronto brewery named Henderson Brewing, and they usually partner with some community cause and contribute a percentage. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's designed to be a community engagement and way to support the community as well. So Gladstone happened to be their partner for that month, and it worked out really well that Gladstone happened to have this brand new installation that pictured them, so it worked out well.
That's great. Yeah, so the reason I brought it up was because recently we had this fun family exchange that took about a minute and a half, where Cal met our nephew who was coming home.
He works
going home
in the GTA, but lives in Hamilton.
So. Yeah, so we're sort of en route, vaguely en route. And so we pulled off the highway, met Cal just off the highway, and they did an exchange. He had made me, Bryn, my nephew, had made me some homemade spelt sourdough bread, because he's one of those who has become an expert sourdough bread baker since the COVID situation. And Cal gave him, what, 8 of those Gladstone beers
for my Hamilton contingent of my family, which was lovely to be able to.
Which is those. Most of his family, because his brother's there, his sister-in-law, our niece, our nephew, and his wife and children, and so yeah, kind of fun, really.
Yeah, beer and bread.
Yeah, I don't drink beer, but I think a lot of people would think that was one of the basics of life.
Yeah, and I'm not a beer person. I was kind of excited. Oh, it's got my artwork on it, so I have to have one. And I did. And
you did.
I did have one, and I thought, yeah.
You remembered why you don't really like beer?
This is a good beer.
I'm sure it is. But if you don't like beer,
I have no doubt that it is.
Oh, tell them about your mom and your dad about beer.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yes.
It is hilarious. It's classic.
It was like a running gag between my parents, because my father loved his beer and other things.
Yeah.
But whenever like we'd meet them we'd go out to where they retired to in Coburg, and we'd go out somewhere, and my dad would order a beer he hadn't had before, and this predated this, but this is when Kim and I remember it from, and he'd go, "Oh, that's different. That's really here, taste this, Gladys." That was my mom's name, Gladys. And she'd roll her eyes and say, "It's gonna taste like beer." And
exactly.
No, this one's really different. No, it's got like a really interesting blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Right? So she would like grudgingly take a sip, and she'd look very nonplussed and say, "Yeah, it tastes like beer." And he would be so crestfallen that this time, just like all the other times, she didn't get it.
Like all the other times over all the decades.
Over decades. so it was
Unbelievable.
It was
So
it was
funny.
comedic.
It really was.
So sadly, I sort of, even if I want to, I kind of fall into my mother's camp just because
Well, I think it's a neutral thing. It's just
no,
it would be convenient to like beer,
yeah,
right?
certainly it would be a point of connection with people.
Yeah. I used to find some beer okay, but I mean, years ago I realized I can't have yeast, so not to mention the hops or barley or what, depending on the beer, right? I certainly can't have wheat beer. You know. Mind you, single malt scotch ain't bad. So, I don't feel like I'm suffering. Not that I drink much, but I try to make it worth my while when I do.
You go big or go home, eh?
Yeah.
Well, you don't drink a lot of it, but you go for the
Go with
higher alcohol.
something I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a young adult, I definitely wished I liked some of these things, and I tried a whole bunch of them, but it was like, as soon as I started to feel the effects of the alcohol, I just wanted to go lie down.
Yeah.
I know some people enjoy like get a buzz from it, but for me it was just like, okay, now
you didn't get giggly,
I can't think,
you shut down,
and I feel like napping or going to a dark corner until it goes away, and then I'll come back. And so it really didn't have the desired effect.
No. You didn't feel funnier or giddier or more fun or anything.
Yeah. Defective alcohol receptors or something.
Well, just as well.
Oh, what I lack in beer consumption, I make up for in coffee.
That's right.
To each their own. Just means there's not much to drink of an evening, because I drink the coffee in the evening. Not so good.
That's true. That's why I've taken up drinking sparkling water in the evening.
That's actually quite sensible, because it has a little bit of fun to it in the effervescence, but
it's special.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have sugar in it. It doesn't have caffeine in it. All things that I'm trying to be sensible about.
Sensible Kim, that's what they call her.
I'm drawing way too many little veins here. I think maybe I should stick with bigger vein patterns. It's very hypnotic drawing the veins.
Yeah, you can just get going, and then you realize, oh, that was about 5 times more than I planned, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think an event like this, where we're chatting and working amicably, amiably, whatever you want to, companionably. That's more what I'm driving for.
Yeah.
Driving it.
We're usually pretty amicable.
Yes, exactly. Having something that where you sort of know the plan and it's executing it, or it has like I'm doing something that's quite repetitive. I generally choose repetitive tasks for this event. Because of that, because there's something about the just filling the form that gives my brain enough space to chat as well.
Yeah. Well, it's like your brother knits.
Yeah, in fact, what I'm doing right now, which is a little drawing, but it has lots and lots of little strokes. It's very akin to knitting because of its repetitive nature.
Oh, I just had an idea. All right, get a few more branches in, Kim, and then looks like I have a bit of paper to glue back down.
Got some that was being unruly.
Well, it's a bit of a flap, actually.
Oh, that sounds unruly. That would qualify as unruly.
Does it? Okay. Then it's unruly.
Okay, good. I'm so relieved.
So we can be clear about that.
Yeah.
There we go.
Just then that a hush fell over the virtual studio party.
Yes. You may be hard at work at whatever you're doing, but for anybody who does have their eyes on what's going on, I'm just going to hold this up. Oh, the light is glaring.
It's showing all right on the bottom right quadrant. The line work.
Yeah, but the top is blasted out. There are just as many lines there.
What if you...
There. Oops. Don't do it in front of the camera, Kim. There, you can see a little bit better now. Oops. So I've got some guidelines in there. So now, now that some lines are in there, now I will come in with my watercolor pencil, perhaps rashly, perhaps fine.
I think being rashly will be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you just have to dive in. But having given yourself something, you know.
Oh dear, yes, that's true, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
So Susan says, okay, she just had a chat with the support guy at the Inkaid site. You need to use pigment-based inkjet printer for good results.
It does.
Hers is inkjet is dye-based.
Yes, that is key. Now, here's something in case it helps. But if you had some sheets that you wanted to try that out with, any place that says they offer giclée printing, and some places are really quite reasonably priced versus others that are well, just very high end, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not worth it for the right artist and the right work, but not for this purpose, maybe for just a stage of your work. Yeah, you can anything that qualifies as giclée is pigment-based inkjet printing. So if that helps, there you go.
Yeah, and if you just did a search for any local places that do giclée printing, and
and just ask them what they would charge if you're supplying the designed for inkjet film,
and the film,
and how you're supplying it. That's what I'm saying. To print on it, what size and how many sheets, then you could see if that can work for you for certain projects. Oh, I need a pencil sharpener. Of course I do. Just have to dig through everything. You know how it is. It's always at the bottom of whatever you're looking through.
So Susan says heart.
That's lovely. Yeah, I meant to have an image transfer workshop online this past year. I've had enough requests for one, but given what I've had to deal with on a personal level this year, it's just not been possible. But it will return as a topic of either in person or online teaching,
Even both. Yeah.
or hybrid, or separately both.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking hybrid, but I was thinking you might possibly do some of each.
Yeah. Isn't sharpening pencils just like a satisfying thing? I meant to sharpen a couple, and I've now sharpened several. Oh, I have to sharpen that one because that one just looks too.
Matt says, since I've been working digitally, I've gotten wistful about my former days of rifling through boxes of art supplies.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to worry about as much the chaos of it, or the mess, or the space needed for it. You just have to worry about all the terabytes of storage you need, and the processor speeds you have, and all that, eh? I'm so behind. I have a 14 terabyte hard disk that I bought a pair to, try and simplify my backing up and archiving, and I'm so behind in copying the one to the other. The second one is, oh my God, the second one's probably a year behind, which is terrifying, given how much of my life and work are on that. Oh, I forgot I need red. Of course I need red. Like, what were the chances I wouldn't need red, right?
Matt says he still has most of them, but they're like a time capsule from the 90s through about 2010.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so do you sort of visit them and wax nostalgic? I would, that's for sure.
I think because Kim and I were designers, and Kim was actually the person who taught me how to use a Mac, which I was have been eternally grateful for.
He didn't want anything to do with computers at first.
Not at first, no. But then you just show a control freak control, and that's
that was all he needed. That was the gateway drug.
I can kern everything exactly the way I want it.
That's
I can
right.
make it the exact right size and the position. Okay, sign me up.
Yeah.
But I went to school with all the old tech, and so I had reams of the kind of smelly, toxic markers and stuff for doing marker renderings and so on. And like shortly after moving into digital, it's like, I don't need this stuff anymore. I wish I hadn't pitched it all, but we did pitch quite a bit of it just because.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have the smelly markers.
No, exactly. But I had like 100 markers, right? Because that's what you did when you did marker renderings.
Yeah. You know what I wish I hadn't pitched? My Repeatograph pens.
Yes.
I had a beautiful set of Koh-i-Noor. I don't know how many were in the set, 9 or 12. Like it was it's incredibly expensive at the time. But it was a beautiful set. And then all the templates I had bought for using with technical pens. So Repeatographs are a form of technical pen, which, now this kind of technical pen is all over the place. But my kind used permanent ink and you had to refill them and clean. You had to clean them constantly.
They were very fiddly.
Yeah, but
very finicky, I guess.
But they did a
great job when they were working.
Exactly. So
Matt says all of this paint is dried out, and yes, it is sad.
That is sad. What kind of paint did you use, Matt? Were you like a gouache person, or? I've been feeling a little nostalgia for gouache somehow. The sort of creamy mattness of it. No pun intended.
Well, and it's making like a major resurgence.
Yeah.
Too, right? And especially with all the acrylic versions.
There's so many
gouache.
acrylic versions of gouache now.
Matt says oil and alkyds mostly.
Right, right. Yeah, I have some old ancient oil paints in my basement. Isn't it hilarious how we still have these things, right? Because I haven't painted in oils in decades. And I did inherit some paint from my grandfather. I inherited his paint box and some brushes and palette knives and paint. Those of you who heard my podcast will have been introduced to my grandfather, who was my first art teacher.
Matt also said sometimes watercolor.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, even before your next comment, Matt, that a purist, he didn't like the acrylics. He just liked the old
oldie
tried
school.
and true. And then the next comment is, I didn't like how acrylics dried a different color or shade than they went on. That is a little bit galling, I won't lie.
you get used to it, and you get used to the compensation or whatever. It's about depending on the color, it's about a 5% value shift.
Yeah. But it is a bit of a.
But being familiar, Matt does exquisite, detailed work. I can imagine that your painting work, you were very, very refined and controlled with. So that would have been upsetting to you.
Laid it on, and yes, that's just the right value, and then it dried differently. It's like, oh, so galling, right? So yeah.
Well, and it actually reminds me of something that came up in I taught acrylic. I have taught many times an acrylics course that's about using acrylic mediums to alter characteristics of the paint and turn it into what, get it to do magic tricks essentially, but also just really practical, useful things. And one of the things that came up, so I was teaching at one point very, very experienced painters who had painted in acrylic. Some of them still did, but a number of them had switched to oil paint. And they'd switched to oil paint because they just got frustrated with them doing beautiful painting. And then when it dried, the painting just kind of dying. And it turned out, of course, that they were adding water to their paint, which does make acrylic more matte. And every time I say that word meaning finish, I keep pausing because of Matt being here. In fact, what you need to do to reduce that or even eliminate that problem is add gloss or semi-gloss acrylic polymer medium to the paint. And then the colors don't die, the contrast doesn't die, the all of that. So just if you're going to add water, you add more medium. The more water you add, the more medium.
Exactly. Hold it together.
Yeah.
And Kate has joined us.
Oh, really?
I just happened to see the live feed right now. Great work. Right.
Thanks, Jim.
Is that you, Jim, or I presume?
Yeah, it's got to be Jim. How are you, Jim? So nice of you to drop by. You must have got a hint that we were on because Susan called to find out about your film.
It was online, I think she might have been.
Oh, right, online. So I'm just working with water-soluble colored pencils I'm going to do a close-up just for, obviously if you're busy working, you don't have to worry about not looking up, but there you can get a good idea how I'm working the colored pencil here. So I'm not making my marks in the direction of the flow of the line. I'm going against it to sort of mass it. And that
Oh, okay.
allows me to blend.
Right. So your strokes are perpendicular to
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Jim says he's doing well, Kim. Thanks.
Oh, good. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Ours was in October, of course, so seems like a long time ago now.
No, not really, but
we had roast beef for ours, right?
We did.
So I do remember that.
Well, it was memorable. It was very tasty.
It was very good, yeah. Yeah, Kal was the Thanksgiving dinner maestro. Bless him. And you did a bang up job.
Well, neither of us are that keen on turkey.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
well, and I think my mother's not that keen on turkey, so I think
she likes the tradition of it, but
mostly what she likes it is as a vehicle for cranberry sauce. That's her real love, not the turkey. It's the cranberry sauce.
Jim says, "Sure did. Far too much feasting."
Yeah,
but that is the nature of a feast, right? It's supposed to be like that, right?
That is the crucial thing. Although you do pay a higher price for it the older you get, I find.
That's true. But he's on a salad every day, all day for a week afterwards, right?
Well, I can't say. I don't know Jim well enough to say that he is, but he could be forgiven for not being on that kind of a diet.
You're thinking, I kind of like this, actually.
He might like just eating real food and everything. Not that salad isn't real food, but it's not adequate. Let's put it that way.
Oh, mad, he says.
Oh, yes. I'm familiar with that. Wow, well done.
That's good. Yeah,
that's
a pretty to remember what that stands for.
One meal a day for those.
Played with that. She's done some intermittent fasting. She's done some
extended fasting. Yeah.
So.
And yet here I am, still battling my weight.
Is something that a lot of us grapple with.
There, now it's something's starting to happen here, I think.
It's kind of fun seeing your gray and blue leaf off to the side as you're working on additional veins.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to pause and have a little drink. So Jim, these images are image transfers from Inkade Film, done, I don't know, a few weeks ago.
Onto a surface of
Japanese paper
into an unaltered book. So
that's right.
And
that's how it came up actually in conversation today.
And the one you're working over top of right now, is that you say that was your grandfather?
Yes, this is my grandfather.
On that side and your father on the other side, right?
That's right. Boy, I'm starting to feel like the graphite lines were my warm-up. And now not working with the flow is feeling like a great way to improvise new vein patterns. Famous last words or positive development in my studio practice? We will find out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be one or the other. That much is for sure.
It's always a learning experience, right?
It is.
Whether you're learning, okay, that didn't work, or you're learning, oh, cool, or somewhere in between.
Yeah. I wish I'd known a lot younger what an improviser I was. I just didn't know that was a key characteristic of mine.
I think, as artists, it's something that a lot of artists come to later, but because they realize that, it's fine to improvise. And you have more experience with which to improvise. And when you're younger, generally speaking, you are often interested in technical proficiency, and you're also trying to sadly often please other people, whether they're instructors or peers or
Well, and in a practical sense, employers, right?
oh,
Like you
absolutely,
need to
absolutely. Like,
please
yeah, show
employers.
me
So,
your chops, and if
yeah,
when you don't have
experience.
life experience
Yeah.
and art experience,
You need skills.
you need skills, exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's
but,
true.
But it is true that it's something you. If I too wish I had learned more about being a little loose, just even a little looser, a little freer when I was younger, right? Because it was so painful, at least for me. I was interested in technical proficiency.
Well, yes, you were like you did some real hyper realism when you were young, whereas I did, I did realism, but I also did
you did
loose, expressive, improvisational drawing and painting.
Well, Picasso was a hero for you from a very early age,
yeah,
and he was a master improviser, right? So
and it it extends beyond that. Like what happened was a while ago, I don't know, a few months ago, we had a memorial. I attended a memorial for a teacher I'd had in high school. She was a remarkable woman, a total character, and incredibly accomplished. She was from a number of different European countries. She spoke many languages. She worked with Edward de Bono on ideas around creativity and education. She was quite something. And I remember at school, she was very odd. Like on the one hand, she was very chic. We had two kind of European teachers who were both women teachers who were both incredibly chic and spoke multiple languages. But she could also like come in looking like a complete shambles. Which is, it sort of had cycles through the week. So, and she was incredibly smart, but sometimes she would come in, and I remember some of the students used to be really offended by this, and it was clear she just completely improvised the class. And at that age, I didn't have an appreciation for that. I just didn't understand what that meant or what that required, because it actually requires quite a lot of skills to do. And it also shows a willingness to be very responsive to the people and things that are there.
Fact, that is your nature, right? Like
exactly.
You struggled to do your homework, but when you were in class, you were one of the most active participants, right?
Yes.
Because you loved discussion, you loved ideas, you loved that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, can we just forego all the grind beforehand with the homework and just get on with
homework was the problem for, I'm old enough. There was no such diagnosis as ADHD. People would have scoffed at you if you'd suggested that there'd be such a thing at the time. They just say, no, you're just a problem. No excuses. You just don't have whatever. So, go ahead. Please.
A couple of things. Jim says, I did see the last studio party. Love the concept of this type of work.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
And Susan, before we get too far along,
please.
Away from this thread,
said
self-knowledge is one of the most useful things, and why it takes half a life to figure it out.
Oh my God.
Great mysteries and frustrations, but also joys, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's we both feel that like, oh man, I could have really used this when I was 25, but
Well, because we were making some pretty life-altering decisions, like really massive decisions in our 20s and 30s, right? And not armed with the self-knowledge we have now in our, oh boy, we're almost 40 now, right? So, not equipped with that. I certainly didn't make the best choices for my happiness or health in some respects. I did make some crucially good choices. My co-host, for example,
Well, and
he was an
likewise,
awesome
but
choice.
we definitely, I think everyone looks back and like, oh, I wish we had taken that fork in the road or had the courage of our
I don't know.
convictions to do that.
Some people claim they have no regrets.
Yeah.
And, there's a level at which I can appreciate on a philosophical level where acceptance of what is a profound thing. But I think there's also some people, just like the kind of excessive positive thinking movement, as I like to call it.
The unself-reflective.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
there's
They're just not reflecting enough. They're not, or or they're or they're performing no regrets. It's not
yeah.
that they have no regrets. It's that they want to have no regrets. They believe that's the right thing. Yeah. But who am I to know? I don't know. So
We definitely encounter some young people who seem, from our perspective, to have their shit remarkably together in terms of, I could do that, but I'm not going to for these reasons. I'm going to pursue this instead. And when I hear a young person
way wiser than we
I just
were.
think, wow,
Yeah.
when I was in your shoes, I would have made the exact wrong decision. And I think you're bang on. And it's
Yeah.
like, where does that come from? Good parenting, at least in part, right? But it's remarkable sometimes when you encounter it. So.
One of our honorary nieces, we have quite a few honorary nieces. We're blessed with them. But one of our honorary nieces very cleverly chose to do a lot of traveling as soon as she possibly could, as soon as she graduated from high school, I think. And so she couldn't, God, I don't know. She's been to Europe solo. Where did she go to Thailand? Yeah, with her family, she went to Thailand, but she went first.
Right. Yeah.
And she was doing something in a different part of Asia, I think, and then they went to Thailand.
Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan. So, and I don't know, she may have gone somewhere else. And then I think, wow, and she did all of that before lockdown. So unlike most young women her age, she had I mean, she must have, I sympathize that she must have felt like a caged cat, but she had life experiences like that to draw on, which is phenomenal to accomplish when you're so young. This is before she was 25. I mean, is she 25 yet? She might barely be 25. Yeah, exactly. So,
I really admire young people who get off of the societal track earlier than
find a different way.
Like our nephew, after 2 or 3 weeks of university,
brilliant nephew, I have to say.
Oh yeah, not he's
no learning
tried
difficulties.
Some university, and he thought, I can't justify all this money on this. I can be earning money at doing, and not talking about like going to work at the beer store either. Like he's now like doing very, very well. And he told his parents after like 2 weeks, he said, if I bail out now, you'll get most of your money back. So I'm doing that. And it's like, wow, and I'm sure there were some long discussions about that.
But yes, because both of his parents are teachers and have numerous degrees. His mother now has a doctorate.
Yeah, but different strokes for different folks. So.
Well, and what's funny is he brought me up as an example of someone, because I don't have a university degree at all. I don't have a college diploma. I have studied at university and at multiple colleges for different things.
For sort of as much and as long as it served you, and no longer, right?
That's because
right. But you also read and study more than 95% of the adults, right?
So I'm an autodidact for sure in a lot of ways, but it is a funny situation to be the person that's being held up as the example of why why a young person doesn't have to do what's expected of them. I mean, in a sense, I should feel kind of proud of that because I'm showing them an alternative way that they've obviously absorbed.
That has been your role in your family in a few different ways. You've had a few engineers,
Children
choose non-engineering roles or more arts-oriented roles because of you, your example. So.
I mean, I hope that they don't regret that decision later. But
Lillian, hello, Lillian.
Welcome Hi, Lillian.
She says, "I do a lot of work now in helping people know the natural giftings they were born with." Which is great. Yeah, that's some great work, Lillian. She says, "You're right. Most of us never have received this. Why were these tools not part of our curriculum?" Absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
I mean, I remember in grade 12, because, you're contemplating what you might pursue in university, right? Or as a career or as a livelihood even. And I did an aptitude test and I did a skills test that just, tests a lot of sort of native talent at certain basic things. So one thing I found out was I would make a poor assembly line worker.
I think that's safe to say.
My manual dexterity was not sufficient for, all the little repetitive things. And of course, here I am still with my RSI months later. Imagine what I would have done then.
But artists have.
Well, this is the thing, right? I have good manual dexterity for what I do as an artist, but I am not a miniaturist.
Right.
And there's a reason for that, right? Yeah. Like I'm not building miniature cities.
No, that's for different artists.
I'm not even doing it digitally, unlike
unlike Matt.
Yes, that's right.
Matt builds 3D models of
Matt builds worlds,
fictitious locations that are
amazingly
detailed. Lillian says the advice she received in high school was so far away from who she really was.
Yeah.
And so what else? So poor assembly line worker, what did it say? Do you remember?
The thing that took the cake was the interests test. Comprehensive test, right? This is through the guidance office, and these
at least you're doing that, not just like asking, like.
Yeah, no, it was, they had tests that you could take to find out things and to suggest things, right? So the interest tests, it stands out in my mind because it just made me laugh, like I just laughed. I was most strongly aligned, I'm sure not just with this, but including military officers. And oh my God, I howled. I would be so poorly suited to military hierarchy. You have no idea. It would just.
Lillian said, even before that anecdote, she said, "You may be a multipod, Kim," to which I replied, "Definitely," in caps, because Kim has so many things in which she has interest, right?
Yeah.
I have a few things that I'm really, really, really interested in, and lots that I could care less about. And it changes a little bit as I progress through life. But Kim is like tentacles.
Oh my God.
Shooting out from her in all directions, and some of them change as she moves along, but they're all connected. Like she is like a web moving through life. And just always shooting out new tentacles, and then dragging along the old ones, sometimes cutting the occasional one.
So this is a rare calm moment, I guess, right? My weekly date to be calm.
Yeah. And Susan Abbott replied, "Oh, Matt, I loved looking at your show. I didn't connect the name to the work."
Oh, good. You were at the show. That's fabulous.
Yeah, that's so
Wasn't
cool.
It great?
Yeah. And Lillian says, "I remember those tests. Yes, quite laughable."
Yeah.
Well, we have since done tests like Myers-Briggs and
It wasn't the full Myers-Briggs.
No,
it was like an abbreviated thing. Yeah,
but and then we did that other thing just recently, and they both sort of point to who we've become more or less as artists. And what I was an artist, and you were, what was yours? Maven, right?
I was a maven, which is about learning.
Right.
It's about constantly learning.
You are that in that.
And then I guess passing it along kind of thing.
Yeah. Learning and teaching. And which means that anytime Kim encounters anything that she needs to do, that her art, this would require me to learn this. Okay, I'll learn that. And then like, oh, no, she doesn't go, oh, but that's sort of like completely out of my bailiwick, so I won't do that. She's just like, it's going to become part of my bailiwick.
Well, if I'm interested in it,
Exactly.
The problem is I have a big backlog now because I haven't been able to keep up. This past year and a half has been terrible for that. I've learned some new things because of our circumstances, and although I still haven't learned the live stream platform that I need to learn to do better live streams. We'll get to it.
How many browser tabs do you normally have open at any given time?
Honestly, it's, I don't know. I just closed 60 of them today.
There, yeah.
Yeah, and restarted my computer.
I will sometimes have 2 or 3 tabs open at the same time. And Kim will multiply that by 30.
He's such an amateur. Yeah.
Susan says she saw Matt's work online, but
oh, good. Yeah. Well, however you saw it, that's great. Exactly. We had the pleasure and privilege of Matt giving us practically a private tour of the gallery was open and people came in and left and all that, but he was kind enough to tour us through all the worlds he had up on the wall and
all the interesting decisions and I mean, like anything, right? Any work that's worth its salt, and his certainly is, but just the fact that you scratch the surface a little bit and it's like, oh wow, there's a whole lot more to this than and Matt's work actually shows that more than some work is like, oh, this is quite simple until you start asking the artist about it.
Yeah.
But Matt's
Matt,
like,
what's complex,
and then you ask him more questions, and then you find out, wow, it really is way more complex.
Yeah. I think what's wonderful is how beautiful it is too, because that means that it draws you in. It's magnetic that way, and it needs to, because if you don't go up close, then you won't realize the astonishing depth.
Yes, it's interesting because you don't see all the detail close up, but you see enough that it's like, oh, I need to go closer to that.
Yeah,
and you do, and then it's like,
wow. Yeah, exactly.
Matt says, I sometimes pine to go back to a simple pencil and paper.
Yeah. Well, I remember you showing, not this show, but the previous one, you showed, I think it was pen and ink drawings, if I'm not mistaken, that were, still in your bailiwick, still building fictitious structures and not whole worlds maybe, but chunks of world.
Matt says, on those days when I want to throw my computer out the window.
Oh God, yes.
You should do like the 18th century version, like the, it's just, I have to work by daylight. And I have to use old school tools. And
oh my God.
The Matthew Borrett unplugged.
That's it. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Can't you just see a little series coming out of that, Matt? I can.
I'd like to perform a little acoustic set for you now.
Oh, so you might be curious to know what the upshot was after all the testing and everything else. So I decided that I wanted to be either. There were 3 options that I settled on. I wanted to be an architect, which was definitely a good option.
Yeah.
Except for I now know from all my friends who are architects how ill-suited I would have been to the toxic culture at that time architecture schools had
Yeah.
around creativity and so on.
We know some very scarred individuals.
Yeah,
who are
including
architects.
some who graduated and then refused to practice because it was that bad. But then, so that was the one that seems most logical in retrospect. But I also had a real interest in science. My father was an engineer, and so I was thinking of astrophysicist or aeronautics engineer. And that's probably a bit of a surprise to people.
Less so to your husband, but it is
Yeah.
it is a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Because when you were in high school, you were also a cafe hanger outer and portrait painter.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, let's face it. But there
Da
are
Vinci Code.
physicists at U of T. There's a famous physicist. I don't know if he won a Nobel Prize. He might have. Who is both an artist, or he might be a musician and a physicist, a world-class physicist. So that is the kind of mold, I guess. It's also true that I used to have a much better brain than I have now. I know I'm wiser, but I miss my brain. Oh my God.
Matt says his roommate in college was in architecture. Architorture, he called it.
Yes. My God,
perfect.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
Really.
It's so, I just don't know how those, whether they were professors or they came in for guest critiques, how they just lived with themselves for being such destructive, toxic influences in young people's lives. You strengthen young people by making them stronger, not by beating them up to a pulp. Hell, you strengthen old people that way too. It's a funny thing. Yeah.
I should just give you a heads up that you have about 6 minutes.
I can't believe it. I've been having such a dandy time. I don't want it to stop.
And for those of you who are watching along, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little thumbs up, it helps the YouTube algorithm. Just hit the
like button. Thank you.
There. Yeah. That would be great.
That's a good reminder. This is a good time for me to make our special holiday announcement, don't you think?
Well, yes, absolutely. I just want to pass along. Lillian says, swinging from left brain to right brain and back again.
Yes. Yes, I used to be bilobial, I like to call it. I used to be bilingual in both lobes, in other words. And boy, I sure don't feel very left brain anymore. But
so you had some sort of an announcement to make?
Yeah. So Kal and I wanted to. So this is the last scheduled virtual studio party for 2021, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast or the live stream. And next Monday is the last scheduled virtual Collage Jam, right, Kal, on your channel, yep. Kal Honey channel. But we thought it would be fun. I don't know why. Maybe because this is so fun. Like, I hope you're having fun. For some reason, I'm having enormous fun. So we thought it would be cool to have a Christmas special. Our very first Christmas special. Kim and Kal's Christmas special. And it will be a joint effort. Maybe we'll even find a way to sit side by side so we can both be on camera for that part. And I don't know. We thought we'd do something Christmas themed, and we'd have Christmas themed snacks and drinks.
That sounds great. Yeah.
And maybe even wear something Christmas themed.
You know what it is? It's the virtual Christmas party.
That's right. That's right. But but
Yeah.
it's kind of Kim and Cal's
Yeah,
Christmas
exactly,
special.
Exactly.
And we'll live stream it from my channel.
Yeah, because that's when people would expect it on the 20th.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the 20th. And I have to say, given who's here right now, that is also my father's birthday. So it's a very special day for me. And it would be lovely to spend it in the company of people like you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I don't know, traditionally I do some kind of a paper crafting thing around Christmas, so I would normally have done that today, but I wanted to keep working in my book. And
that's why you pushed it on to the 20th, really. Right?
That's probably it.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
But I'm loving this idea. I think
so
it's gonna be great.
I hope some of you at least like that idea of a little Christmas party on YouTube here.
Sign me up. I'll be there.
Oh, good. Well, so there'll be at least 2 of us.
Well, that's a good thing.
And it'll be the same time and all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Lillian says she loves it.
Oh,
yay,
good.
Lillian, thank you.
Good.
Val says Christmas party sounds like fun.
Oh, good.
Excellent. Good. And Lillian says she'll tell Joy. Yes, Joyce had a bunch of moving to deal with.
Oh, has she?
Yeah, I think she's moved back to the GTA actually. So
you're kidding?
Yeah. So
from Salt Spring.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine why. So exactly. I will have to.
Yeah. Susan says the book looks great. Christmas party sounds fun. BYOB, bring your own baking.
Exactly.
Gotta run. Thanks.
Okay, so thanks for Susan. So good to see you. Yeah.
And Lillian confirms Joy is in Toronto now. Right.
Wow. Well, that opens up possibilities as
only temporarily, she says. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I knew she had mentioned that she was moving. So when I heard moving, I assumed it was permanent, but that's good to know. Well, hopefully she'll be settled enough that she can join us.
Wouldn't it be great to meet her in person sometime? That would be lovely.
I believe that I taught her at Halliburton one time.
Oh, right.
Or a couple of times, actually.
Right.
I think,
cool.
In experimental watercolor or one
maybe
of my
she did that when Lillian was taking my course.
Perhaps, yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Actually, yeah. We are now far enough into our teaching careers that we can't necessarily track on who was where all the time. When it was a few classes, it was all very crystal clear, but it is the specifics have faded a bit.
Yeah. now I need people to remind me how I know them. So combination of age and just the accumulation of students. So that's kind of fun, eh? Going over his head like that.
And Lillian says, yes, we were there. So
thank you,
Lillian. That's good to know.
Yeah. So I feel like I need a good eraser, because what I'm going to do is before we sign off, I'm going to pick an area to erase. This has too much going on in it.
You're erasing
some of the original graphite lines that I drew in. They helped me warm up and get in the flow and gave me some. It's so much easier to correct a draft than to do a preliminary draft, and that's true of drawing as writing. So with those lines in place, I could then find better pathways. Sometimes I was pretty close to what was there, and then I diverged a lot.
Yeah, it's like doing a pencil drawing and then inking it. You refine it as you go along, right? And or doing an underpainting with like a light, low contrast paint, so that you can map things out. And no, actually, that's sort of where I want it to be, but actually take this part out, change that direction a bit, etc. as you go along, right? So anything that allows you to have iterations to refine it, because your thinking is always evolving as the piece evolves, right? So
And our brain is particularly good at comparison. So when you know, never be afraid to draw a first line, because your brain will look at that line and say, oh, but a much better line could be drawn over here and going this way.
It's such a cool feedback loop, actually.
Yeah.
You draw a line and then you think, no, not quite the right angle. No, it needs to be a bit longer.
But it's a very powerful function in our brain,
Exactly.
that thing. So, yeah, that's why it's important to make that first mark or set of marks or whatever. Yeah. Favorite erasers, by the way.
Of course. The world's
These are
best.
the greatest. We use them
Stainless plastic
for graphic design as well, and for drafting, because we're old enough that when we started graphic design, drafting was a part of it. I had a drafting table and my technical pens and my T-squares, set squares, my templates, oh my god,
the smeared ink. Oh no.
Oh.
Trying to do corners just
and
right.
Clogged pens.
Yes,
clogged pens was like the universal.
Oh, nice clean line and then blob, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Tell me you had that experience, Matt.
Why else do you think you moved to digital? do one of Matt's scenes and then have an ink blob in the later stages.
Oh my god!
At any stage, actually,
at any stage,
yeah.
Yeah, forget about it.
Galling.
Yeah. So some of you know that I do digital art, but I don't do this 3D modeling that although I'd love to learn.
That's absolutely. Oh my god, the ink clogs.
Oh god, yeah, yeah. And I couldn't be totally digital like Matt is, because obviously he also prints things so that they enter the physical world for a show, for example. But yeah, I need to move back and forth between the physical and the digital. Otherwise, I find I something goes wrong in my brain.
Yeah. That says he had rapidographed as well, and
so
much maintenance. Yes.
Oh yeah, so much.
Oh, I just remember rapido-ease and soaking.
Oh yeah. And then the things that wouldn't.
And then you'd bend the little hair
the super fine ones.
Yeah, as soon as you bend it, it's all over.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to get a new pen, and those pens were so expensive. Oh man. Because they weren't made in China then. I'm sure the Koh-i-Noor was made in Germany or something, right?
Or Japan.
So now that I've erased the graphite lines there, I'm just going to do, because it's good to end on something that's meaningful. So I feel like there's been progress.
Developmental work is meaningful too.
It is. You're right, dear. I apologize.
But something to show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to bring some water onto the.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
Isn't it nice?
It is.
Yeah. It's bleeding a bit because this paper does that. So that's interesting. So
the veins are bleeding.
I didn't do a test. So the key to make it not bleed is to work quickly and smoothly, not pause.
No pressure.
No pausing. No blobbing of water. Okay. So tilt it there. That you can see that better. So you can see some graphite lines still here. There's some blue color mixed blending with the red. And there's the watercolory ones. And I've got
will you leave
good
any
start
of
to the network.
The pencil lines, or will you try and remove them all? Because I was just thinking they have a sort of a atmospheric depth, like there's something that's underneath.
Yeah, you're right. And I guess, yeah, there's something to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
At this stage, I'm going to map in more of the veins and arteries. What I'm doing here is I'm turning the blood vessels gradually blue
as they cross
on this side.
Right.
because they're losing oxygen as they head this
Further and
way
further away from.
as we move into the book.
Mm.
You know, and it's about my dad who is dead. So I thought that would somehow
Interesting analogy,
convey
Yeah.
or express or support that idea. So yeah, so that's my thinking, such as it is, on this.
It's great.
And yeah, I never even got to my my other.
That's that thing. It takes the time it takes, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Just let it be.
Well, and I'm
the pace of it.
I'm happy with how it's looking and
exactly.
everything. So it's just a relief to actually be doing studio stuff. That's one of the reasons why I look forward to Virtual Studio Party is
Yeah, because we both struggle to get enough of our own work done. So yeah.
This year
Yeah,
especially.
especially.
Although I am working on my upcoming show and developing the concepts I had for my series, various series for it. And I would dearly love to get working on it really in earnest. I really need to be full time on it. So so hopefully over the holidays that a lot of that transition will happen and I'll be gangbusters by the new year. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us for
it's been great being in your company.
Yeah,
lots of fun.
Some nice surprise appearances, which has been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So much appreciated. And I hope, if you're able, that we'll see you on Cal's channel a week from now for Virtual Collage Jam, for which you do not need to collage.
Nope,
I'll just remind you that Cal
always
does
optional.
supply.
I can't see what you're doing. You can be doing. I'm collaging now. I'm working on the theme. Meanwhile, cookies are being baked,
or martinis being drunk, or something.
Exactly. It's really just about being together and
exactly
community.
So yeah, I hope you can join us for that. And I'll just reiterate that December 20th, Monday, December 20th at 2 p.m. on my channel, right this here, we will have Kim and Cal's Christmas special. Oh, hello. Here we go. Face and everything. Yeah, because I think that would be fun. And, not every aspect of the holiday season is fun, especially if you've lost people. But not just because of that. And so making fun where we can, I think, is a good idea. So have a great week.
Val says the book is looking good. See you next week. And Jim says, well done. Thanks for the instruction. And Matt says, thanks, Kim and Cal. Thanks for Kim and Cal FM today.
Why, thank you, Matt.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks very much. Kim and Cal are signing off now.
Bye.